Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Foreign Correspondent Clubs of Thailand. My name is Panelists. I'm a former president here and a senior correspondent for Reuters. I would like to welcome you all to a very special event this evening, co-hosted by the Thai-Korean Friendship Association, especially Kun Metha Mat Khao, who has been very active member of this club, but also bringing in this new association for our members. So this evening event, I would like to thank, of course, as I mentioned, the Thai-Korean Friendship Association, a very distinguished panelists, perhaps a rather peculiar since the topic we're talking about is on international relations, but our panelists' expertise are more wide-ranging. So it'll be very interesting to hear from them all. So this, I guess we're taking a broad outlook of the security and political situation in Asia 70 years after the two Koreas signed the Armistice Agreement and how that relates to Thailand and how that impacted our region, Asia and beyond. The Korean War and its Cold War peace have had a lot of influence to the security of East Asia and also Southeast Asia. My grandfather, who fought in the Second World War for Siam, was among more than tens of thousands of Thai soldiers who were deployed during the Korean War. Back then, Thailand was firmly on the US camp of the Cold War, even as the world changed. And the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the collapse of the Soviet Union has not changed this armistice. China, who backed North Korea then in the 1950s, have blossomed and global hegemony starting to decline. As for the Korean Peninsula, the Cold War situation remained as North Korea still in the Cold War mode in many ways, while the South, the Republic of Korea, flourished as one of several Asia success stories. A strong, open economy, a robust democracy, and a global soft power heavyweight. Thailand is one of the few countries that keep diplomatic relations with both North and South at various levels. With the South, there's a strong relationship between government, businesses, education, and so on. And the North, diplomatic relations. And there are on and off business ties, often cut off by international sanctions. And Thailand, of course, is one of the few major endpoints for North Korean defectors to escape to. As the tension between the US and China rises, the situation in the Korean Peninsula remains in focus as a regional and global issues, and a very important one for Thailand. And I'm very interested to hear from our distinguished panelists about what they think about this issue and beyond. Before we go to the panel, I would like to invite Kun Metha Mat Khao from the Thai-Korean Friendship Association to say a few opening remarks. Kun Metha ครับ
สวัสดีทุกท่านครับ Good evening everyone. I would like to open by Thai-Korean Friendship Association press release for today. As you know, July 27, the 70th anniversary of the Korean War Armistice Agreement, which brought an end to the 7-year Korean War with the new conflict between China and United States and the tension between the two Koreas as a result of the most recent military exercise of South Korea and North Korea and United States. The Thai-Korean Friendship Association call on all parties to promote peace in the Korean Peninsula and strengthen non-discriminatory relationship between Thailand and North Korea and South Korea too, and support peace negotiation without interference from other superpower. No war. Based on the history, you know, India used to play a crucial role in negotiating Armistice Agreement and ending the Korean War. While how China used to be a key in ending the Vietnam War. So Ajahn Sulak in the past talked with Mr. Kissinger in Bangkok around 50 years ago for the key from Vietnam War East China too. However, it is unclear who will play a key role in settling the Korean Peninsula crisis, which is expected to happen again. The catalyst for the new conflict has really arisen in the South China Sea and on the Korean Peninsula. Despite the region, Thailand had maintained strong diplomatic relations with both South Korea and North Korea. Despite having a lesson learned and new friendship from remain at the core of Thailand long after the war against the Axis power, but the Thai people were opposed to fighting alongside the island. As a result, the Thai-Korean Friendship Association had proposed the following the contribute to peace and 1. We encourage the Thai government and other 16 nations that participate in the Korean conflict not to re-participate, mean no participation in the war again, and cease war in order to enhance peace in accordance with the Korean War Peace Agreement. We also request that the Thai government have the deployment of officers at the 98 parallel and that 6 honor guard company officers carry out their responsibility, including invite the Thai flag and executing non-trial tasks to diminish the symbol of war. 2. We request the role of UN Command or UNC be terminated in line with UN General Embassy Resolution 3390 of December 1975, which states that the UN Command must be dissolved and all foreign. The 3. We urge the United States and South Korea to halt any provocative action and the content deployment of U.S. nuclear strategic asset infiltration drill, surprise landing and assault drill struck by special unit under war. Scenario armed at end of regime, decapitation and occupation of Pyongyang, as these actions are questionable for only defensive purpose. 4. Thailand should play a part in strengthening both nations. Please neglect of not reunification from within without any interference from outside powers. This can be achieved by ending external investigations and wars. Outside force must withdraw on troops immediately, leaving the future of Korea in the hands by the people of North Korea and South Korea, who must decide with wishes to unify the nation and live peacefully together, or wishes to have one country with two systems. Its destiny should be decided of Thailand on July 24. This just opened by Thai Friendship Association press release for you and open for this topic today in Bangkok. Thank you.
On behalf of the Thai-Korean Friendship Association, I have an absolute honor to invite all the three distinguished speakers to come up on stage and start a discussion. For the first speaker, we have Mr. Sulak Siwarak, who's a Siamese intellectual or Panyachun Siam. Please come up on stage. For the second speaker, we have Dr. Pokin Polakun, who's an advisor to the Thai-Korean Friendship Association, the president of Thai-Chinese Culture and Economy Association, former Deputy Prime Minister, and also former President of the Thai Parliament. And our final speaker, we have Ms. Kuntida Rungrungkiat, who's the Director of Progressive Movement Foundation, and former Member of Parliament and an author of a book, ไม่มีอะไรในเกาหลีเหนือ or There is Nothing in North Korea. And we have the moderator, Mr. Panu Wongchum.
Okay, ครับ Well, welcome you all to the club. อาจารย์สุรักษ์ครับ I think we'll start with you. 70 years since the armistice. What's your reflection and thought on this? And I guess more importantly, how is it important for Thailand in that sense?
I wonder whether any of you have heard the name Glenn Page, Will MacArthur, who sent a troop from Japan to invade Korea. He also interviewed President Truman, who sacked MacArthur because MacArthur wanted to go all the way into North Korea. So Glenn Page's book was the bestseller at that time. Every university, every military academy, naval academy have to read his books. But later on, Glenn Page realized that the American image of liberal democracy was in fact made himself a fool. He felt that the Korean War was the American interest in preserve capitalism and consumerism. Later on, Glenn Page wrote a book, but was not allowed to publish in America, which is supposed to be a land of freedom. The book was, however, published outside the USA. Now there is also a Thai version called Politics Without Killing. This is my first point, that I feel that when you consider Korean War, you have to be very, very careful in understanding the real situation. Regarding this country, 70 years ago was a landmark that this country followed the American blindly. And there were those who opposed the Korean War, particularly Mr. Kulab Thaipadit, a very leading journalist. he was accused of กบฏสันติภาพ rebelling for peace. Madame Pridi Phnom-yong was also put in jail. This is crucial. Korean War meant that the Thai government followed the American blindly from there on. Until now, the Thai government is still under the American hegemony. And now, of course, much worse. The Thai government is also under the Chinese hegemony. So this is, I just want to make this remark for my friends to discuss whether they agree or disagree or they want to expand any further. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ajahn Sulak. We'll come back to you towards the end. But I guess we go next to Ajahn Polkin. You yourself, of course, being a veteran politician in Thailand, you've seen many things, including our relationship with the Koreans and, of course, with China. In your view, I mean, 70 years since the armistice, how would you reflect on this relationship and the importance, the impact, sort of the tension the Korean Peninsula have on Thailand, Ajahn?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I think Ajahn Sulak mentioned that we are facing the superpowers. In the past, you have Cold War between the Soviet-led allied and the American-led allied, or the Western countries. Since World War II, we have lived in this situation until now. The Korean War is one example of the proxy war between the two camps. Because of there are two beliefs or two ideologies. The American, they try to promote Western democracy, while the Soviet Union at that time tried to promote communism. Okay, we will not say that which one is correct, because I will say further that I have a pity on small people who die or who sacrifice everything for the elite of the world, who always create wars and conflicts and difficulties to these small people. That's why at the end I would say that how the small people can react, can rise to say something that we don't need conflicts and war, but we need peace, and how we can make peace possible for the world. Okay, but here I just want to say that the war in the Korean Peninsula, in Vietnam, Cuba, or everywhere, is a proxy war of the two camps. Okay. One thing that we have to make equality to the people through communism. But the other thing that we have to protect human rights. We have to protect democracy. But both, and many times they are liars. They just want to protect their hegemony rather than the small people around the world. Okay. That's why I want to refer to what Kun Mehta said. There are 4 points you just comment, and other 16 nations not to re-participate in the Korean War if it occurs again. I totally agree. I think that no country should participate in any war anymore. We should participate in, what should I say? We have enough difficulties for the people of the world. You have a pandemic, you have starvation, you have natural disaster, you have global warming, many other things that we have to face it together. In this world, Ajahn Sulak, we have a lot of money. We can feed people of the world, everyone. But why? Millions of people, they are in starvation. But why some people, they throw away food every day? Why this happen? Okay, you can tell many stories, but at the end, you have to find ways to solve this problem effectively. But if you cannot, you will do this year and next year. I talk about this for the whole of my life, even the Constitution. And it become worse, as you are seeing now. And Thailand, same. And in Cambodia, same. Why this happened repeatedly? Why young generation, why small people, they cannot stand up. They cannot overthrow this kind of thinking, this kind of mindset, or what should I say, the partisan capitalists. I think that wealth or money go to just only 10% of people in the world, but 90% they don't have money. It's funny, now the American try to increase interest. Okay, why the Chinese try to decrease interest? They are facing global. When Nixon abolished linking gold with dollars, so you can print out dollar as much as you want. In case that the dollar is still can make confidence, can make trust to people who use it, right? But the fiat money or the paper money useless in case that we don't trust it anymore. But who guarantee that? It's the American government. You have military power around the world. You control the world through military might and not through collaboration, coordination, through dialogue, through friendship with other countries. When you can, in this coming 10 years, or maybe the past 10 years, you get used to the cryptocurrency. I don't know how many in the world. So in the world, you have plenty of money. That's why the rich people, they want to invest here and there for the good project. But the small people never have money. Some ideologies or some people try to say about helicopter money, try to create this theory, but we have to use it that it's fake, it's untrue. Why Trump, he said that America first. He tried to blame the world, that he cannot control easily like in the past. But in fact, it's the American monopolistic capitalists who make this happen. The small people, they don't understand, they follow Trump. They hate, people from Asia, people from Africa, people who are not Western people. And maybe you witness some American, insure the Chinese people or the yellow skinned people. Why? Because you think that these are danger for them. Because the rise of China, and that's all. And it happened again and again and again. That's why to show your force, to show your, mindset that you need peace. And in order to have peace, in each country, what you want to do, what you have to do to tell your, government or to have your own government to do this. You cannot ask the Thai government, I don't know who, to do this. Or maybe you can see that you request the role of the UN, UNC, United Nations, like a command is for a unit to run the Korean War, to respect this resolution of the UN, or urge the United States and South Korea to hold any provocative actions. It means that the drills between the US and the Korean military now. I think that because we only do this, request that, dream of that, it's untrue. You have to talk about action of small people around the world. What should you do all together? This is the only way that we can have voice to be listened by those who control, the globe. Thank you.
Thank you, Kapajan. Next we go to Kun Thida. I think you also have the presentation from your time in visit to North Korea, right? If I'm correct. How do you reflect this issue? And I guess you can tell us about your experience and your book, but also in some larger context of Thailand.
Thank you. let me put the disclaimer first. I'm no expert in international relations. I'm looking at this at a very humanistic approach. I was trained as a linguist, an intercultural communication specialist turned into a politician. So when I look at the issue of two Koreas, and from my experience twice in 1 year in 2016, I look at the whole phenomenon in a very, very human, daily life, in real life kind of way. So to me, when we talk about reunification, this photo I took myself, this is on the way to the DMZ. You will see this huge, everything in North Korea is huge, so that humans can be rather small. So to me, everything that the two Ajahns mentioned, at the end of the day, the effects are on every single person in North Korea and also in South, and the propaganda being used, as messages to these people. I started with this picture because this is how people in North Korea see Korea. There is one Korea. That if you watch the news in your hotel, the map doesn't draw the line. There is only one Korea. For them, it is only one, but one in the sense that one means the one according to the North Korean regime. One means that this has to follow the Juche philosophy. This has to follow the leader guidance. So this arc to me is extremely important in the sense that yes, there is this attempt of reunification in many different approaches, from the many peace talks until you see different actions from both governments. But to perhaps elaborate on what Ajahn Pokin mentioned on the proxy war, in action, what does it look like? In real life, perhaps I can try to do that in the time I have. So after that, I came back and wrote this book. It's already sold out. I called it "There's Nothing in North Korea," because there's nothing unhuman in North Korea. At the end of the day, you see human beings when you talk to them. I was lucky enough to be able to talk to the university students, asking what their dreams are. And they do dreams. They do want to have good family. They want to have good career, just like us. And that's why I named the book, There's Nothing in North Korea. There's nothing unhuman there. They are human beings that we need to talk about. So what was the life there? First thing first, you have Juche everywhere. From their year, I'm not sure if you are aware of that, but their year is called Juche year. They do the Western concept of year, but it's the official one is the Juche year and the Juche philosophy. And I took this picture, and can you imagine this is an entertainment for the North Korean people? The entertainment is they go to this flower festivals, and the flower festivals filled with these symbols. So from there, the moment they wake up, they will hear the songs of the leaders. When they want to entertain themselves and have fun, this is it. This is their fun. This is the joy. So basically, these surround them. You go out, this is what you see. The two leaders. only Kim Il-sung is addressed as president, the eternal president. The Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-un are referred to as leader rather than president. So this is in daily life. You see these images all the time. And what they mean by when it comes to North Korea being able to tell their people that, hey, we have to stay in isolation. This is how they do it. It's through recalling to the accounts and also the experience I faced. This is the science complex. Can you imagine you have the science complex in the science museum, and this is the centerpiece of that particular science complex? Meaning that, you know, if they have high technology, and high technology means arms and nuclear, they will be able to stay isolated. And isolation, in another way, if you choose another word, it is self-reliance for the people. And this is how they were told. So by saying one Korea, in that meaning, in that sense, from my own personal observation, this is the ingredient of that one Korea. And in process, I took this potentially without permission. This is in the morning where, you know, these people are practicing the flag parade. If I cannot read this, but to my understanding, if I recall that correctly, they need to work harder. And to work harder means you need this kind of encouragement, or they would go as far as having the propaganda as something very common in their daily life. You need propaganda in order for people to work hard. You need to have this, you know, encouragement in order to build people to become the very hard-working nations. When I was there, a university student, a very promising young woman, said to me, she said, we have to do good for the nation, and we have to do good for our junior. And she's I think she's in English major department. And it is so common to her that building a dorm is part of the activity that she has to do. So in a way, this oneness is reflected in the daily life of people. You have to work hard as the government tell you to do. And the nuclear program, it was clear that, you know, the narratives being used in North Korea, I wish I can read Korean. I can't. This was the newspaper during the time I was there. So you can see the context from the photo, right? So it's a nuclear program, and it's really common, and not just that first page picture, but also the other pages. So like I said, you know, you go to the science museum, you read this newspaper, this surrounds you. That, hey, we have to exist, and we can exist in isolation, and we need to protect ourselves. That's the narratives. However, not just those narratives, but during the many peace talks, one of the historic meetings in Pyongyang with the North-South Joint Declaration, this kind of postcard was designed. So it was designed to celebrate the special occasion. So in a way, not just the harsh narratives and the very negative narratives that people are consuming, but also this kind of reunification messages would come along the way during the very pivotal moments of the peace talks. During my 2 trips, I'm a linguist. I buy books. So I did not buy arts or anything. So I decided to go back and read 2 books from North Korea. This was published in 2012, and this one in 2016, the year I was there. This particular one, it's clear in the book that science and technology is important, and this is how they build that independent national economy based on the self-reliance principle. And, by no means to build the economy in total isolation. And of course, one for all and all for one. And this is how it is. For me, it is extremely important to understand how the people also in North Korea have grown up and what they have heard, what the narratives they've been shaped. In order, at the end of the day, if peace talks succeed, everything happened in a way that the 2 Koreans can unite, this will be a very important step to really understand how the North Korean people have been living their life. And this is a part of that. In the books, in actually both of them, of course there are mentions of foreigners. Very interesting, because we realized that, when I was there, I realized that American is a word that I should not mention. Perhaps this is a postcard that I bought from the hotel, and it's clear how Americans are being depicted here. However, I was singing a Disney song with the university student, and I received a kind of speech. And this was mentioned in 2016, the most important and pressing task facing our party, the Workers' Party of North Korea, is the responsibility and the destiny of the country and the nation, and the narratives are still extremely pro-North Korean, and doesn't Korean sporting teams in many sport events. And when I look at this, sorry, this is so dark. When I look at this, and I was still, this is my hobby, to analyze all of this. The South Korea, I was wondering the same thing. Is the attempt of reunification and the narratives told by the South Korea the same or not? I'm no expert here, but this is from my own observation. This is by Hyundai. It's an advertisement. It's called Going Home. So this old man was a North Korean, defected to South Korea, and he wanted to go home, but he cannot. So the Hyundai decided to make this virtual reality for him to be able to go back home using Hyundai car. So this is the technique and the narrative used by the South. You know the K-drama, right? Crash Landing on You. It is basically the story of the North Korea, DPRK, told by South Korea. In rather precise, according to my experience, because the script writer is also a North Korean. And Snowdrop, another K-drama, very famous and also quite controversial, has the North-South Korea issue on the background. What I'm telling you is that for what I noticed, the South have been on the more soft side narratives and using a lot of different types of media in order to tell the narratives. On the The North Korean side, it has been very clear that the messages are extremely strong and harsh at certain level, and also very targeted at certain countries, American or at some point Japan in some of the texts. So I think in order to really make peace to happen, for me, you may need to go through the heart and the mind of the people to understand what they have been through. And of course, I wish in the future we have enough understanding so that the real peace can really happen between the two Koreas. Thank you.
Thank you ครับคุณพิดา Now before we head to Q&A, would the other two panelists have more to add? I guess in the context of what we're seeing, you guys have spoken a lot about the sort of the big picture issues, but in terms of the Korean conflict, maybe I go to you, Khawjan Pokin, the Korean conflict and its sort of impact, if you like, on Thailand, going into the 21st century, especially in the context of China being such a pivotal figure. Do you have any thoughts, Ajahn, in that sense? Because you mentioned the new Cold War with the U.S. and all this sort of thing, but for Thailand, I mean, what does that mean for us?
So I think that the Korean War has a very less impact on Thailand. Even though we sent troops to South Korea at that time. But when I was even the Speaker of the House, we have this kind of association, among MPs of each country, and we organize our own as well. I think no one talk about, or no one hate North Korea, but everyone, if I remember well, they want the two brother and sister, how can they reunite? I think people expect that. Same like in Germany, when the wall was destroyed. And you remember the song of Scorpion, Wind of Change at that time. We think that this kind of conflict, this kind of division will be ended, but it's not true. Why? Because in this world, there exist two things. One thing I can say, the cult of personality. It exists a long time ago, just to put someone as God. This someone will lead people to do everything they want, and saying that for the benefit of the people. But in fact, I don't know. And the second thing, you have to tell your people to hate something or someone or some country. When you remember in 1975, and now Kissinger went to China again, because Xi Jinping said that this is my old friend, okay? 40 years ago, Kissinger went to China to do what? Just to shake hands with Mao Zedong. Why? Amidst the Vietnam War, very tense. And in that year, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia liberated. Why China received Nixon, Kissinger first and Nixon? Because Mao Zedong, same like Stalin, you have to trust me, respect me, follow me. And Stalin, I think, he's one of the favorite leader of Mao Zedong. But when Khrushchev took power, it's him who condemned the cult of personality. That's why the conflict between Russia and China started. And you can notice that there were skirmishes along the border of the two countries. During Vietnam War, and finally, China accused Soviet of being revisionist. Just a discourse, just to blame someone whom you think that they are not like us anymore. And that's all. And I think that in North Korea as well, we have to accept that the leader promote the cult of personality. We cannot deny it. And at the same time, they promote hatred or loath against the Western countries led by the US. Just to do what? Just to bring the people behind him. at any cost. Is it true? Is it necessary to do that? Trump, he did same thing. American people, come behind me. I will protect you against everyone, even the EU. I declare war against Canada, against anyone that I think that make the American people in difficulty, which is the elite American that make it, and not the small American people. I think we have to understand this very well. If not, if you have heart with someone, you would say, oh, this is very good, very good. I don't think that as human, you are totally good. I think that we have good and bad in ourselves. But those, we praise them because they have good element more than bad element, and that's all. And it depends on emotion in some time. If you have no, emotion, not too much, you will consider this maybe reasonably. But with emotion, hate, jealousy, maybe you consider this differently. This is human being. We have to understand this. Okay, that's why for the cult of personality, even in the US, it happened. Professor Sulak, you remember during Reagan regime, they want Reagan to continue the third, presidential, election. Why? Because they think that it's only Reagan that can lead America. And that during Mao Zedong, Xi Jinping, they amend the constitution to make Xi Jinping. Some argue that, okay, if we give you the power to be the third time president, and if you die tomorrow, and this amendment serve who? But in China, you have no argument like this. In North Korea, you have no argument like this. See that? Okay, maybe I'll stop here first, and then
Okay,
I will go to the last part of that one. What I propose to the small people around the world to do to make peace and not war.
โอเคครับ อาจารย์สุรักษ์ I mean, taking on from what Ajahn Polkin said, and you mentioned in your speech about, American hegemony and now Chinese hegemony, do you think there's room in the Cold War? There was a non-aligned movement, the Bandung Conference and all this sort of stuff. You think there's some room for that now in this era with China and America competition, and whether Thailand, what sort of path can it take?
I wish I knew.
Because you mentioned we're falling into both hegemonies, right?
I only speak what I know. I don't want to have opinion, vague opinion, no.
Okay. Very well. So Q&A, there's a microphone in the back of the room for those interested in asking questions. Please identify yourself and direct and refer to the panelists you want your question to be directed to. Thank you.
Thank you, Khun Phanu. Good evening. My name is Imtiaz Muqbil. I'm the executive editor of Travel Impact Newswire. I cover the travel and tourism industry. Khun Kuntida, my question is to you. Khun Phanu mentioned that we have diplomatic relations with Korea. Could you tell us a little bit more about your trip? Do we need visas to go there? What are the facilities like? Can Thais, is it possible to even, you see North Koreans coming to visit Thailand by any chance? A little bit about the travel and tourism context, just at a very friendly, peaceful level, because travel and tourism is supposed to be an industry of peace. And perhaps maybe if opportunities could be for Thais to travel more there and vice versa, maybe we could have some friendly relations. So I'd just like to know a little bit more about the contacts between the two countries.
I was invited by the government at that time through an association. It was I think a group of researchers. So my program there was extremely government-led. I was aware of that, fully aware of that. I did ask questions that some of the officials were not so happy, but I asked mainly about. I think I was asking about the military budget versus the education budget, because I design education policies. However, I did not get the answer I wanted, even though I was surrounded by many government officials and military personnel. So it was by invitation. But in the Parliament of Thailand, there is the friendship group, the parliamentarian friendship group of Thailand and North Korea. So at that level, there is, and I, at individual level through some of the organized tours, through Beijing, I think. And while I was teaching at universities in some of the international programs, I did have North Korean students. And usually when the family of diplomats or of business persons from North Korea come to Thailand, they come as a whole family. So that's why the level and at the individual levels, there are interactions. There's still interactions, but rather quite limited and not as common as in perhaps if you go to Beijing and buy the tours. I think it is more common. And North Korea rely on tourism. If you, I'm not sure if you followed the activities organized there. There is Pyongyang Marathon. So it's the tourism activities are quite a big chunk of the income. We don't really have the information, but it's a big chunk of the income. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you, Kap. Please.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is SK. I work with the United Nations, and as a South Korean, I found today's lecture very, very interesting. And as a South Korean who actually served in the military as an interpreter and at the United Nations Command, which was mentioned a few times earlier, I found today's discussions to be extremely eye-opening, because you might have guessed, but then I learned narrative in a completely different way from the exact other point of view. So I would like to thank everyone for their discussions on this point. I really would love to hear more from you in the coming weeks and days and so forth. My question would be actually towards all the participants, all three participants. So I'll try not to step on anyone's toes right now, but then we all know that there are, North Korea is somewhat secluded and isolated, as the lady had mentioned in her speech. Do you anticipate the North Koreans to actually open up at any point in the future, physically or in terms of internet connection or telecommunications with the outside world? Thank you.
He asked whether there's a possibility whether North Korea will open up in the future.
I think there is a very strong effort from both North and South. Although Trump, tried to do something that was a show, but in South Korea there's a real effort, and I happen to know some of those people in the South. I don't know anybody in the North, but I believe there are also some good effort in the North, try to reconcile the two countries together. And I hope what I said is not only wishful thinking. I hope it will be true sooner than later.
Anyone else? You want to take it to that?
In short, I think as Kun Mehta proposal, he needs the superpower not to interfere in the internal affairs of both Korea. And if the communist bloc think that we have to keep North Korea alongside with us, and vice versa for the American bloc, and you cannot chase the American or the Chinese or the Russian out. Even though the two Korean brothers, they want to do, they cannot. But we did it successfully because the intervention of India at that time. But I think in fact because both sides, you remember during the invasion of the European towards, let's say, that Asian, Africa, and even South America, the mindset is what? Just to exploit, just to suppress, the people that they think that inferior, just to take everything from them, to make them have better life, to make their country people be happy. And you send over and over this kind of thinking until now. That's why I start what I like to speak further, that I think that same in this world, you have to face or you have to fight against two things. First, the authoritarian mindset. It dominates the whole world. And this mindset created by who? By those who are in power. That's why your worldview, your thinking, your values, norms, ideas, express everything. You have been led by this elite through many institutions, schools, universities. They propagate this every day. Even you are so poor, you have nothing to eat, but you pray for this. That's why I talk about cult of personality. Okay, if you cannot get rid of this kind of authoritarian mindset, you cannot see peace. And second thing, you have to fight against the bureaucratic system that serve this authoritarianist mindset. Like in this country, I will not take your time much. Before the election, what I propose to my party and to the people is that when you see Prayut, Prawit, or any ball, I think they are flies. As long as you have the rubbish is what? The rubbish is authoritarian mindset. You have to have many lives. And I don't know you will be successful or not, but you have to get rid of the rubbish. So the flies will not come anymore. You see that? And the world is like it everywhere. It depends on the regime. Communism in China and capitalism in the US, you think they are different in dominating and controlling the people? I think the same. We respect human values, but some, okay, same, but the others may be different. But in fact, the people would see that what you are doing, what you have done, I get the benefits or not. If I don't get, I will go against you, okay? That's why I want to, I want to remind you this thing. You remember that in 1960, to find answer for this, why do I live like this? Why do I respect the American value? God, that they go to flowers, they go to anything, they don't want to work. And the song of John Deere, you have relation, you have ownership. If you don't have this, he said that I see no war. I see brotherhood of man. True or not, I don't know. But in many parts, it's true. We kill each other for what, as I just mentioned. And now you are facing what they call the lying flat. You know the word, the lying flat. It happened in China, in Japan. The young generation, they are frustrated about the future. They see that there is no future for them. Why do I work? And why it happened in China? Because you work hard, the parents work hard, but less remuneration. Why? Because there are plenty of jobless and few jobs. So they they don't see the opportunity in the future. That's why they want to happen again. And more young generation, they go to this kind of culture. I don't know when it will start. It start now and when it will end. I don't know. But this is, the world is like this. That's why even in this country, why the old generation, they look at the young generation as a ghost. Sometimes they can go too far, but you have to work with them. Try to teach them the lesson that you learned from your whole life. How to go this way. This is maybe wrong, or this is maybe right, but it's about your experience. But if you deny them, how can you deny young of 10 years of age up to 17? They are the future. People like me, like Ajahn, we will be the dust soon. We have to understand this and make them have courage to fight against incorrect system, to fight against injustice. We have to do this. That's why, lastly, what I propose. I think that the world, I think many, even in Thailand, we are rich enough to take care of everyone. But the distribution is so bad. Some people in Tanzania can be number 1, number 2 richest man in the country. But the majority of people, they are so poor since, I don't know, the parents or before that. This is the life of ordinary people. That's why I said that, because I used to be in politics for more than 30 years, used to be in many positions. I used to think that if we organize well the bureaucratic system, if we make most of the people, they are deceived by this elite. When you look at the world, why half of the American people follow Trump? You cannot blame them, but you have to liberate and empower them. As long as they are not liberated from this mindset, this thinking, or if you cannot change the bureaucratic system, they will be influenced by this. That's why when Marx said that you have to unite the proletariat, it means that proletariat around the world, we are brothers and sisters. But in fact, when World War II erupted in Europe, most of the proletariat fought for Hitler. You see that? So the rich people, they have no nations. They have no boundary. But the poor people, they have province or her province. Never go beyond that. Maybe today better because more roads, more communication. And because you have this, you know the outside world. In the past, they don't know. When they wake up, go to this and that, and they come to here and work until you die. That's why what I propose, maybe same like in many political parties, we are rich enough to take care of people of every stage of life. You have to take care of the embryo till old age people. These people, they don't need to be rich people, but they need just only something that they can live. They are so, they're with suffering, they are so, sad, they so serious about many things. That's why they go to drugs, they go to human trade, they go to everything that, even gambling. Because they don't have future. They just want to do this and that to make more money. The capitalistic, the big one, when they borrow money from the bank, it's not more than 3%. And you can issue bonds as well. But the poor people, you know in Thailand how much, I think that in other countries same, about 240% a year. It's immense for poor people. But they have to do that for their life, because in case of emergency, they don't know where to get money. They go to shark loaners. You have to lift the life of them up. If from embryo to old age, you are not suffering from this situation, I think you will seek more knowledge. You want to do something more. You want to learn more, and you will create many things more. This is necessary for every country, for people of the world. We have to unite people to go this way.
I disagree what he said. It's wonderful to speculate, but we are now talking about Korea. If you have anything relevant to Korea, yes, say so. But you beat about the bush. You go to America, you go to the... you see, Professor said sometimes talk too much. I prefer to be right to the point. And if you could not go right to the point, shut up.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
Okay. It's
No,
okay.
because the organizer told me that we can talk about broader idea, comments. That's why I think that if we focus on South or North Korea, and we propose that this country should do that, I think it's a dream.
Well, okay, gentlemen. We have one more question.
Yes.
Can I add?
Oh, okay.
Well,
Can-
it's
Can
not.
I add one point to the previous one, and I think you can.
Well-
Oh, you can ask first.
No.
Yeah, please ask question first, perhaps.
I mean, I do not have any question, but I just would like to thank you, everybody here, being an ethnic Korean, born in the North, grown up in the South, and thank you for this venue. Now, South Korea, the relationship with the North, South Korea cannot do by itself because they have, you see, the related parties like USA, like Japan, and so on. But I would like to let you know what is happening in the South. I watch daily the news. Their imminent problem now is that the birth rate is 0.78. South Korea is disappearing, actually. You know, the European, North European countries, their rate is more than 1 point something, right? So the Minister of Justice, he goes to the migrant workers that he is going to give them better migration issues or payments, conditions, and so on. You see? So South Korea is changing. And, well, and as you know, maybe you do not know, the suicidal rate of South Korea is the highest in all the OECD countries and so on. So I think we are talking about K-wave and so on and so forth, but actually Korea, South Korea itself has its own problems that you just cannot imagine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Maybe I'm trying to answer your question by asking a very important question. I don't think I can give any timeline, but I think the question lies in how can we empower people in a country that has one of the most repressive regimes in the world. In order for change to happen.
As a pattern of regime and power, it evolves. It's not the same. You see, we cannot talk about the time of Korean War now.
Right. Let me.
So I'm as a Korean, I would like to let you know the imminent problem South Korea has is these issues that you just cannot even think of. Right?
Right.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I mean, yes.
Yeah. So,
Sorry.
because of the fact that North Korea is so close and so isolated, and when we look at the narratives around North Korea, right now, the Western narratives. Again, North Korean people are being isolated by those discourse and narratives.
But what about hacking? Their hacking system.
Well,
For
that's
instance,
that's
that isolated. No, I don't think so. The North Koreans.
anyway. I think we can have a more afterward discussion on this. But maybe you want to finish your point.
Yeah, and that's why I think to learn on those authoritarian regimes is also the lesson that the whole world has to learn, because authoritarians are everywhere. And in that sense, the narratives around North Korean people, not the regime, has to change. The people, I mean, we have to separate between the regime and the people. That's my personal viewpoint. And perhaps in that way, we can start empowering people from outside in. And this is long term. That's why I said I don't know when this will happen. But however, the issue of these two Koreas, for Thai people, it has never been raised as a regional issue. Well, Thailand is actually the root of the defectors, but it has never been raised as such. So I wish in the future this issue will be raised as a regional issue, and ASEAN mechanism will be used more effectively in this case. But of course, that depends on who the leaders and whether they will take that initiatives or not. I cannot give the timeline, and I can only perhaps give you my humble opinion on perhaps a couple of points on how things can go further in the peace process.
Okay, so I'll take one last question, and I think there's a closing remark, right? Yeah.
Yes, Sam Wright, club member. Kun Boken, I've heard lots of wisdom in what you have to say, and lots of idealism for what the world should be. But I also know that you're represented here, or characterized here, as a representative of the Chinese Cultural and Economic Association. And I was curious, as when you talk of the negative fact of authoritarianism everywhere, are you suggesting that China is different than that? Because you're representing China, authoritarian, what from many points of view is a very authoritarian dictatorship, ruling by fear.
Okay, Sam. I guess the question, maybe you can keep it brief, is the nature of authoritarianism in China. I mean, since you are representing the association.
No, I represent the association, not the Chinese government or the Chinese Communist Party.
So you're suggesting that that's your personal view, not the state of, you're not representing China when you say, you're not implying China is not authoritarian. I'm sorry, I could not understand.
I think he have answered that he's just representing the association rather than the country, right, or the government of China.
Yes, more focus more on people to people, because I don't represent the Thai government. I don't represent the state. I represent the people through my association. Same like Kun Mehta, he represents the Korean people through the Friendship Association. I think we have done same thing.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, may I invite now Kun Sek San for a closing, I guess, or rather a comment from the Thevawong Vajrapakan Institute of Foreign Affairs, right?
Thank you very much, Kun Panu. It's my great honor to be here. So I would like to call it another last comment, not the closing remarks.
Before I start, I'd like to make a disclaimer that the views expressed here are totally personal. They don't reflect those of my affiliations. I have 2 points. First, I'd like to express my appreciation to the 3 distinguished speakers for giving us another view on North Korea. If we start from the government's viewpoint, we see many problems. But if we see it from non-state actors' viewpoint, I think we see a lot of kind of fair view on North Korea to share, both government and non-state actors. And I like to bring the keyword by Ajahn Pokin, people-to-people connectivity matters here. Because Dr. Surin once said, isolation has higher cost than any engagement. And I think that's correct. So we need engagement. But my second point, what kind of engagement we really need in order to make the Korean Peninsula more peaceful? I would suggest, this is my personal idea, that first, we may need to work more on the humanitarian issues or climate change issues, because from what I learned from North Korea is that North Korea has special interest in environmental issues, including the climate change, including the starvation, drought, any kind of development. So this may be one creative entry point that we can start to work with North Korea to have a kind of more constructive engagement from the green things. And this is what Ajahn Pokin has said already, that we are facing kind of greater challenges, humanitarian challenges, COVID-19 and climate change, and also any several national security issues. So we need this kind of thing in order to work more. Third, perhaps what Pujui has mentioned already about ASEAN. I heard from Kun Pitha when he gave the interview to the KBS, the Korean Broadcasting Media. He talked about ASEAN plus two Koreas. So I think this matches between the 2 Koreas. And ASEAN is not great power. So what we can do is that, okay, we can be a kind of honest broker to bring the 2 Koreas together and work and think about the future. So this can be one thing that we can do, ASEAN plus 2 Koreas, without any great powers intervention. I think this is the real concern of North Korea. So the way forward is here, I think, and we can start from now. So the people matters, and I hope for better Korean Peninsula future. Thank you.
Thank you, Khop Kun Sek-san. Well, on that note, I would like to bring this panel discussion to a close. I would like to thank all 3 of you for coming and becoming a member. Thank you very much and good evening. Khop kun kap.